As I make my way through the massive, vast catalogue of Big Finish releases that I've not been able to immediately review over the past few months due to work commitments, this was one that I kind of put on the back burner. I didn't really know much about it. I just saw the title and the cast and I thought, oh, I can push this one on the back burner a little bit. I was so wrong. Today we're going to be talking about Torchwood Endgame. This is a story written by Tom Black, making his Big Finish debut, and this stars Toshiko, played by Naoko Mori, who is part of a simulation done by the UK government, where her and 3 other MPs, played by Yolande Obsala, Ed White, and Greg Wise. You got these 4 people in an underground secure bunker with a bunch of computers, and they're made to do essentially big simulations where, aliens are invading. Do you fight back? Do you do this? Essentially, when you've been an MP for 6 months in the Doctor Who universe, you are put through one of these massive simulations to see how you'd respond as a team building exercise, essentially. Think of it as a very official escape room, but a lot less fun. And at first, it seems like Torchwood Endgame is just going for essentially a Ender's Game type scenario, where whether or not the simulation is, quote, real is left ambiguous, or it's basically a big twist at the very end of the story that, it turns out this actually was real. Here's a shocking twist ending. Here's how you folks thought you would react, and this is what you thought you'd do when the simulation was being sold to you as just a simulation. However, interestingly, with Endgame, is that 10-15 minutes into the episode plays its hand relatively early to imply that the simulation is real to an extent, but maybe not on the big scale that they think it is. Essentially, you've got Toshiko and these 3 MPs who are going through this training simulation for an alien invasion. And then what happens is that they decide, okay, we're going to try and shoot this thing down out of the sky, and if we do, some of the ship's remains, some of the debris is going to land on this small town with a population of like 400, but it's a numbers game. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And then one of the MPs is like, I've got family there. They live there, but it's just a simulation. I'm sure that they'll forgive me, whatever, it's fine. And there's a old-fashioned rotary dial phone in the simulation room that rings after it's done, and then the MP is told that their family member is in critical condition in hospital because their roof fell in. And then they start putting these pieces together that this simulation is way more real than they've been let on to believe. Let's play a clip from Torchwood Endgame.
Your department set this up. Have you rigged the deck?
I was kept in the dark about all this for obvious bloody reasons. Besides, Tosh hasn't made a decision yet either.
That's a very good point.
Torchwood, not accountable to the government, answering only to the Queen. All that alien technology and no transparency.
We know you and Gerard have worked together before. Why not now?
Oh, come on.
Why not? You'd be perfectly placed to...
To do what? Hijack this simulation? Why would I do that?
Critical incident update. Input needed.
What now?
Intruder spacecraft approaching southern England. Mesh anti-air defense system remains available for use against it.
Your turn, Gerard.
To bring Mesh online, rolling blackouts required in southeast England.
No, absolutely not.
What about that very pissed-off spacecraft?
My mum lives in Brighton. We'd be putting her right in the centre of it.
Well, is there any immediate risk to life from her losing power?
I'm not taking that chance.
Can I overrule?
On this decision, the Cabinet Office has the final say.
Damn it.
You would all do the same thing.
I didn't. I let it fall on Alex.
That was before we knew its database was coming after us.
What database?
We said we'd sit on our hands. All I'm doing is sticking to that.
Power not provided. Mesh system will remain offline.
Oh, thanks a bundle, Gerard. Who knows who you've put in danger?
Simulation?
Awaiting query.
What's going on?
During the simulation, you will be assessed on the risk to life, collaboration as a group, and your ability to de-escalate.
Yes, but have you been tampered with?
Negative.
Then why are you hurting people?
It's a really fascinating premise with its roots in like escape rooms and immersive theatre, which apparently writer Tom Black, here making his Big Finish debut, apparently he used to write immersive theatre productions where you'd have people coming in and lots of audience participation and get them involved in the action to see how they would respond in these high pressure situations with actors. And it's really fascinating. I can see this being like an actual theatre production. It's such like a closed environment as well, where you're in this simulation room and all of the action takes place on these monitors and through the voice of the computer, the voice of the simulation. And because it has such like a limited logistical scope, you can imagine like this being like a really low budget and effective play where it's just 4 actors on stage plus a voiceover with the monitors as well. And because of that limitation, because of that abstraction, you don't exactly know what's real, even to like the Ender's Game twist extent, but of course with Ender's Game it's got far less homophobia. But for Torchwood Endgame, that ambiguity is like where the story finds its beating heart. And it's fascinating because normally, like at one point in the story, one of the characters mentions the trolley problem, which is a suitable comparison, but I think that kind of undersells what Endgame is going for. It's like a trolley problem, except the person pulling the lever doesn't know that there's a trolley, and also doesn't know that there's a problem. And it's fascinating that they get these characters who are going into this situation as like a mandate for their job, like a bit of a reward. We've been an MP for 6 months, so we get to play a weird escape room thing. Oh, and there's a member of Torchwood here, this weird shadowy organisation who works with the little green men. This will be a bit of fun. And then the stakes build and escalate, and you'd think that maybe you have this like hell is other people dynamic between the MPs, and there's a little bit of that contention early on, but it actually ends up evolving into much more interesting character dynamics. That the back and forth between the MPs and Toshiko is way more interesting than you'd think given the setting and the political commentary at play. Someone in the chat mentioned Children of Earth, which is the Torchwood story where you get all of those politicians in the government buildings talking about which children they should feed to the 4, 5, 6, and that's really dark and grim. Endgame is a little bit more optimistic, but it's still like a really interesting and realistic portrayal of these people who the authority is deferred to them under duress, and they would rather delegate to other people so that the responsibility and the blood is not on their hands for the consequences of their action in the simulation. They think it's a simulation, let's be hostile to the alien threat because it's just computer screens. But then once they realise that it's real, will they rise to the occasion? Will they listen to each other? And also, what is going on with the simulation that's causing it to harm people? If it is harming people. It's so intense and really enthralling. It's a terrific hour of Big Finish Torchwood. It's probably, outside of Torchwood Soho Ascension, one of my favourite like hours of Big Finish audio like this year, along with Torchwood Pop It. Like, the Torchwood range has been really, really strong this year, and this was a massive surprise. I genuinely don't think in the years that I've been reviewing Torchwood Big Finish audio dramas that there's been a Toshiko Sato one. The last one was Torchwood SUV, which came out in October 2022. So yeah, I haven't reviewed a Toshiko-centric Torchwood Big Finish audio since I started live streaming. And like, she just comes right out of the gates with this one, astonishingly so. It's such a strong and assured performance. Yeah, this was so good. This was a brilliant bottle episode that, you know, I love Big Finish and I love like what they do with the license for Doctor Who and Torchwood and such. You could have had this on TV. You could have had this hour-long story. You could have saved this, maybe not for Doctor Who, but for something. I'm not trying to like negate like Tom Black as a writer or say you shouldn't have wasted this on. I'm not saying that at all. But because this is Torchwood Big Finish, I don't think that many people in the grand scheme of things are going to listen to this when they absolutely should. Top tier Big Finish for 2024. This is making my best of list at the end of the year. I loved it. This was so good. Terrific performances as well. You've got Greg Wise there as well, who has recently just come off the back of a River Song box set as well. You've also got Ed White here as well, playing somebody who has worked with Toshiko before. He played George Martin in The Devil's Chord, so a nice little fun connection there. But yeah, if you just want a really strong, like, hour of tense audio thriller, Torchwood Endgame is where it's at. Out of all of the Big Finish that I'm going to be reviewing this week on this live stream, and I'm going to be reviewing a lot of them, Endgame is the one that's going to have the biggest lasting impact for me. Loved it.